Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. My name is William Hayashi. I'll be your host for tonight. And our special guest is someone actually special, at least special to me. Our special special guest is Jarvis Sheffield, the creator of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. He is the principal for Digital Brothers Consultancy and has too numerous accolades for me to detail here. So stay tuned for the next 2 hours, and we will find out more about this remarkable individual. And with that, I'm going to say welcome to the show. How are you tonight, Jarvis?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing really good, and you?
I'm well. I mean, we had a heat wave here in Chicago today. While I was driving around, the car was telling me it was 53 degrees. And when you've had like 30 days of below freezing, even the amount of below zero that we had, that was quite the luxury. So I enjoyed it a lot. How's the weather down by you?
Oh, fantastic. I can't complain. It was really sunny today. I think it was probably around 65 here.
65?
Yeah.
Man, that's some nice weather. And where are you coming to us from, for those who don't know?
Actually, I'm in Smyrna, Tennessee, which is just outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
And how long you been living there?
Oh, I think this year makes 7 years. I really enjoy it out here. It's kind of out in the country area. Had cows on the way home.
Nothing wrong with that. We actually have one place in the northern suburbs where it's on my way to one of my clients, and there's an actual bunch of dairy cows in the middle of the suburb, and it always just kind of freaks me out. So where did you grow up?
Actually, I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is probably about 2.5 miles from here, on the side of Lookout Mountain.
You actually grew up on the side of Lookout Mountain?
Yes. There's a number of attractions on Lookout Mountain, Ruby Falls, Rock City, and Incline. I actually grew up right next to the Incline track, which is like a train that goes up the mountain. You can actually see it, see my house if you're driving up in the train.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And how, I mean, you were born there, but how long were you there before you moved someplace else? Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Hello? All right, hold on just a moment. I think we're having a little technical trouble. Okay, William's phone dropped, and he'll be back in just a second.
Sorry about that. I couldn't tell who was here, who wasn't here. Are you back?
I'm still here.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I was making adjustments to the audio.
And you knocked yourself out and didn't tell me, didn't type anything. You just left me hanging.
Sorry about that, man.
No, that's all right. I'll cry after the show. Anyway, so okay, so you're born and raised on the side of the mountain there, and how long did you stay there?
I was there until I turned 18. Once I graduated, I actually didn't wait till the fall. I actually went to Tennessee State that summer. I was so eager to start.
Mhm. And then when I mean, okay, well, let's do this. Let me ask you this. Given all the things that you do now, you've put together BlackScienceFictionSociety.com. Right now you're also in the midst of doing a movie and things like that. When you were growing up, what kinds of things were you into, as a young man, and even as a teenager?
Oh, okay. Well, my brothers and my father always made things at home, and I kind of tried to follow in his footsteps as far as like being able to work with tools and electronics and plumbing and things of that nature. And also my brothers, did the same thing. So I kind of picked up the habit of creating things, which led me to go to the specific high school, which was Kirkman Technical High School. It's no longer there, but it was a technical school whereby I took electronics shop for 2 to 3 hours a day, and so that exposed me to not only building electronics from the circuit board on up to doing a lot of computer work and graphic design and video. So I've been doing that since high school. Actually before high school, I had the Commodore 64 computers, and I was really into computers for the most of my life. I think what really peaked it was I used to watch science fiction with my older brothers, Lost in Space, Star Trek, things of that nature. And when Star Wars came out, I think I was in probably about the 3rd grade, and that kind of just blew my mind and got me really interested in robots and science fiction and things of that nature.
And, okay, so you're kind of like a fan of science fiction. Did you read science fiction too, or were you mostly into, television and movies?
Well, at that time, it was primarily, growing up, it was primarily movies and TV that got me started. I really didn't start reading science fiction until maybe middle school, and I now picked up comic books like ROM and X-Men and Spider-Man and things of that nature.
Mhm. Not bad. And so you've got kind of like this background that, early on you're checking out science fiction. And I mean, did anything happen like in your college years to help perpetuate that, or and then well, wait, before I ask that, you mentioned you were into electronics.
Right.
Were you young enough, old enough, around enough to do any of the Heathkit kind of electronics?
We used some of those kits in high school.
Right.
So I actually got exposed to those around 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade, and started using those. That was some of the preliminary stuff before we actually made the circuit boards, drew the design, dipped it in the solution, and started soldering so most definitely.
I was just wondering because I made a ton of money. They had a 200 watt per channel Class A amplifier that bands used, in their racks to go, to push their sound out. And I was doing Heathkit kits, way back. I don't even want to discuss how much older I am than you are, but I mean, that was I'm serious. That was a great way to learn electronics. Plus, you always had the fallback. I mean, Heathkit always guaranteed that if you didn't get your kit right, if you sent it to them, they would fix it. Now, how cool is that?
That's the ultimate in customer service. I doubt if anybody's doing that these days.
No, no. And you know what? A couple years ago, somebody was going to resurrect Heathkit. They put together a couple of kits. One was a swimming pool monitor, like if your kid falls in and makes waves like they're splashing around, it sets off an alarm. And I think the other one was a garage, like when you back up in your garage and you're coming close to the wall in the back, it would alert you. Which, I mean, they're okay for the beginning kits, but I mean, I built one of those Heathkit robots and stuff like that. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, but I mean, you were into electronics almost just as heavy as that. And if you're doing it at the board level, I mean, what were some of the things that you built?
We did basic things, radios, automatic light flashes. So it was a little box where you could plug stuff in, and it would, whatever you plugged in it, and you plugged the other half into the audio, whatever the beat, when the beat dropped, the light.
Oh, yeah, like a light organ.
Yeah. So that, and one other thing that was really interesting, we made power protectors for the entire Chattanooga City school system. We had machine shop, which cut the holes in the little blue boxes that we got from Radio Shack, and from there we would build the circuit boards and put the components and everything in, and also go as far as design the label and package it and everything. It was really cool going to a technical high school.
I mean, yeah, that's like the ultimate hands-on training. And you can't help but getting hooked, because once you build something and all of a sudden there it is, it's working, and you built it from the board level. I mean, there's a sense of accomplishment there and achievement that's unmistakable. I mean, and do you think that kind of that kind of feeling of accomplishment contributed to your level of interest in electronics?
Oh, most definitely. We did things like that. Also, we built a Hero 1 robot. I guess that was the closest we could get at the time to, R2-D2. But it was really exciting for somebody to be a teenager building robots and creating things from the ground up.
I mean, not to take anything away from you, but when I went to school and then, did a lot of stuff in Wisconsin, and then I was managing a club in Michigan. But when I came back to Chicago, my parents got a mini mart. They got a mini mart because they applied for and got a license to have a lottery machine, which is a pretty cool thing. So in order to have a lottery machine, you have to have a store. So they found this place, and I had just come back, and they had to build a whole store out of this place from the ground up. Everything. And it was kind of cool. It was like the first time my dad really told me in a way that I felt good about it. He told me he was really proud of me because I did everything. I did the carpentry, the electricity, I did the shelves, I even kind of got some of the refrigeration going, for the Coke machines and stuff like that. But in that place, I went and got these Heathkit ultrasonic alarm units and did up the whole place so that if anything happened, and at first we had to find and kill all the rats because they kept running around at night setting the thing off. I know, man, it was so pitiful because I'd be coming, I had a motorcycle then. I'd ride my motorcycle all the way to the south side in the middle of the night to find out what was setting off the alarm, and of course when I turned the lights on, the rats were gone.
Oh, wow.
And then we figured it. And then we figured it out. Well, the city of Chicago writes you, I think, $100 ticket when they show up. So we didn't want to go through that. But I mean, it's funny how people who are into science fiction and like our community all have kind of common sensibilities in their background that are so similar. Computers, electronics. And early love of science fiction. Now, I mean, when you were checking out, science fiction on TV and things like that, did you ever suspect back then that you would be producing a science fiction feature?
No, I really, I really didn't have that mindset back then. I was like just absorbing what was there at the time. But that light didn't kind of go off until a few years later, where you watch a few years of science fiction and you notice, like, hey, there's nobody on there that looks like me. So,
well, at least, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the shows, but there was always something lacking. And so I was like, just like if one day I'm gonna do what I can do to do that. But it's kind of far fetched at the time. You're like, I wish this was like that. I wish this and I wish that. But those, but it took a while for that to manifest. The first few years was just, okay, this is an interesting show. But then, like I said, it just became a situation where you were longing to see other people in those shows that look like you. And I think Star Wars was one of the first ones that did that for me.
With Billy D?
Yeah, he was so cool. Uhura was cool in Star Trek, but she was fine. But you were trying to identify with someone, a male, and that for me, that was Billy D. Williams in Star Wars. He was so cool, man. You want to be Billy D. Williams, tell you.
Well, and he was the original owner of the Millennium Falcon. So it's like not only was he cool, but he had his own ship. He had a history. He wasn't just like a utility actor that they stuck there. He had a whole history, he had a background and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. I mean, Uhura in Star Trek was, you're right. I mean, she was she's a woman. I met her here a couple of years ago when she was here for something, and I went to one of these collectible places, and a friend of mine found a Uhura Star Trek plate, and she went and had her sign that, which I think is going to be a pretty nice collectible sometime in the future for her.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going through college. Did your love for, I mean, when did you pick up the whole, computers and all of that? I mean, what was after your electronics phase?
Well, I think there was everything kind of overlapped. The electronics started around 14, 15, I guess. No, actually like 13, but it kind of manifested, with the computer. I always got a new computer when something came out. And when the video game system, Atari 2600, came out, I got that, and that further ingrained the nerdism, I guess you could say. And then also, in middle school to high school, my friends, we would get comic books, and, we read them and share them with each other, particularly like me and my cousin. That was our thing to do, get allowance money. This is before we got jobs, but allowance money, all our money was spent on comic books.
And what did you like? What were some of your favorites back then?
Some of my favorites back then, I read off-the-wall stuff. Of course, Spider-Man, X-Men was really high on my list, but I also read things that weren't so common, a comic called ROM. Also, another one, Micronauts. Those aren't as common as the Marvel titles that everybody reads, but I would read all kinds of things, man. Anytime, any kind of comic book I could get my hands on, I would read. But those four were at the top of my list.
And so, I mean, you kind of had a little. I mean, you mentioned your cousin, but was it kind of like? See, in my neighborhood, we had like about 10 or 12 of us who had different comic interests, but we would get together and trade them, for people to read, not to keep. But,
exactly.
Okay, so I wasn't into Archie, but Patrick was, but I still read them because they were comic books and they were really accessible for a young person, to read. And I hate to tell you this, but back when I started buying comic books, they were 12 cents a piece. and they were
my
sold.
older sister still has some Archie.
Yeah, and so the DC Marvel, all of them were like 12 cents, and they were sold at Walgreens, the drugstore, out of a vending machine. And so, of course, on the way home from school, you'd kind of swing by to see if the new ones had showed up yet.
Uh-huh.
All right, so so you're into comics. you've got your gaming systems, and I take it you were into video games. Did you do any programming or anything like that, or were you mostly into pre-written software?
Well, I did in middle school. I did a little programming that basic that they encourage you to do with the Commodore 64. And
right.
I didn't get far with it. I just kind of did the tutorial stuff that came with the system. And then I picked it up again in high school in the electronics class because we did all kinds of stuff. We ended up learning some Fortran, some COBOL, some BASIC, in addition to building those kits. But one other thing that we did, which really came in handy, was they would, anytime anything broke in the university, well, not the university, but the school that was electronic, they sent it down to us to fix. So I got hands-on experience learning how to repair things. I actually joined VICA, which was Vocational Industrial Clubs of America, which is still going on. It's a great organization to get young people involved in electronics and trades and business. I was vice president in, I think, my junior year, and I was president of our class in the senior year. But we would compete with other schools statewide. So that was a great experience, and that kind of led me to engineering in college.
Mhm. What when you say you were competing, what were you competing? I mean, how were you competing? What was the competition?
Oh, they had different competitions in the electronics realm where you would build a circuit, or you would find the problem with, that's the one I was in. You would troubleshoot a problem with an electronic device, and you were doing this on the state level. They would do that every year, have different competitions. So I had came in second one year.
Go ahead.
It was interesting and a little bit alarming, but we were repairing televisions, and that was my task, to repair the television and do this test. So I repaired the television in like 4 minutes, and everybody else was still, dilly-dallying with it for about 30 minutes. But the problem came in with the weighing of the points. The previous year, the test wasn't as prominent. It didn't take up as many points. So
right.
I didn't do as well on the test, but I whipped them pretty bad on the hands-on. So I came in second. It was a little disappointing, but it was a learning experience.
Mhm. And during this time, I mean, did you get encouragement from your family? I mean, this is before you took off to go to school, right?
Oh, most definitely. My parents, I had great parents. I'm the youngest of 6, and it's like 10 years between me and my other siblings. And so my parents and my older siblings, they were always encouraging. They were very encouraging for anything that I showed interest in. When I wanted to be in the band, which I played in the band since 5th grade, my parents encouraged me to do that. When I got in high school and wanted to play football and wrestle, they encouraged that. So my parents have always been really encouraging for whatever I showed interest in.
That's not bad. Okay, and so let's flash forward to you leave home early to get to school early because you can't wait. Well, I mean, I guess. So what did you do? I mean, you go early, And were there any classes? I mean, what was going on that you would go early and have something to do?
Well, this is the thing. It was really interesting. My oldest sister, she graduated from Tennessee State years prior, and so I was kind of following her footsteps. And I would go visit her for at least 2 weeks in the summer for my entire life because we kind of grew up in different households. She was gone when I was maybe 1, so I went up there to visit her. And she was like, I was up on campus with her. I was just happy to be up on campus. I'm up here on this prestigious university, you know. And so she was like, well, you should go over and make sure all your paperwork got in. And I was like, okay. So I went over there and come to find out that I did not have all the credits for social sciences and foreign language. And because in high school, I took electronics for 2 to 3 hours a day, so I didn't have those credits. And I believe I was the very last student to get in on this program where you make those credits up as you go. And so they was like, well, you can do this now or the fall. I was like, well, I'll just do it now. Since I'm here, I was thinking, okay, let me get in here before somebody changes their mind.
So that was like your summer session was kind of cleaning up those other credits.
Right. I took, and I probably couldn't tell you an entire sentence of Spanish. I took 2 semesters of Spanish, and that fall I ended up doing some social sciences with, you know, world history and geography.
So, you know, just a little tidying up before you get into the college classes.
Oh yeah, man. But I was there. I was like, hey, I'm gonna go and get in this now.
All right, and so you get there, you take care of the the housekeeping and stuff like that. You get started, and what kinds of things were you interested in college? You know, because you had such a wide variety of stuff that you'd been doing before you got there. Excuse me. What did you start out doing in high school? What was your like an extracurricular or a very heavy academic interest for you?
I think that would be let's see, academic. That would actually be the electronics class. The guy that taught the electronics class, I'll never forget his name, is John Marshall. He was ex-military, and he was a really tough guy. And if you didn't score 100% on that safety test, you were not getting into the lab. And so out of, I think, about 25 students that started the program, by senior year, there was only 2 of us left. Because you not only had to do the physical stuff, you had to pass the safety test, and you really had to know your color code. I mean schematic. It was some really intense stuff. I mentioned I was in VICA and also student council. So I was a pretty busy guy. In addition to working at night at Pizza Hut.
All right, now this is just too funny. I went and I applied. I'm serious. I went and I applied in college. I applied to work at Pizza Hut. Okay. Now I was in Green Bay, and it was getting toward winter, and Pizza Hut was all the way in town. The University of Wisconsin campus was it was on farmland. It was gorgeous, man. It was over by the bay. Blah 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 blah. And this guy had job offers to work at Pizza Hut. And the cool thing was every now and then you got a pizza. But I went and applied for Pizza Hut and then got the job, got the red shirt and everything. And then another job came through on campus, tending bar at the whatever they call it. Our campus was built on a golf course, yeah. So the old clubhouse for the golf course was the student, almost like the student union club. And so they were going to pay me 10 cents more an hour to work to tend bar. So, after 3 hours working at Pizza Hut, I had to quit because I wouldn't have had to bike 7 miles into town in the snow to go to work. But the fact that you worked at Pizza Hut and I worked at Pizza Hut is just, there's something wrong here, some serendipity going on.
Scary. I lived it there too.
So, okay, so, you were busy. You had a lot of stuff on your plate. Did you do much socializing? Did you have social clubs that you belonged to that were also associated with, electronics or some of your other interests?
And in high school, it was like I said, it was just Vicar, because my day was pretty busy until the weekend. It was, you get up, go to school. After you get out of school, whatever practice I was doing, football or wrestling, and then from there immediately to work at Pizza Hut, and then I get off from Pizza Hut, get home and do my homework and start all over again. So it wasn't too much room for socializing, except on the weekend, and part of that was taken up doing going to football games or wrestling matches, and of course church on Sunday.
Right. I'm sitting here and I'm exhausted just thinking about your schedule, man.
Yeah, so my being busy, I think I've been this way for at least 20 to 25 years. It's the only way I know to be productive.
Man, okay, and so all right, so let's what happened? You come out of college, and where did that take you? I mean, were you immediately in the job market, or what had you had going on?
Okay, before after high school and then into college, I started off as engineering, and I ended up changing my major to AIT, and then I finalized everything in the computer science realm. But working, I ended up getting a lot of experience. A friend of mine's dad knew this guy that ran a computer company, and he was looking for interns and things of that nature. So I ended up contacting him, and the guy found out he was from my hometown. He went to the same high school I had, and he was in the same electronics shop, but he was maybe 10 years older than me. And the company was called Zycron. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to work there for about a year between classes. And in the afternoons, I learned how to build computers from the ground up, and I represented the company at different meetings and things of that nature. I did community service with being like a chaperone for the younger students that they were still in high school. So we kind of trained them to handle things in the business world, as far as like how to answer the phone and things of that nature. But one of the things that I really enjoyed, I was able to represent the company and test token ring networks between Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. One of the contracts was with Kroger, and I would go to these different locations and basically replace the cards and make sure the network was set up and functioning before I left. So I got a lot of hands-on before I ever left college.
Wow. So you were like it sounds like you were kind of on the ground floor for the personal computer, I don't know, emergence or when things started heating up for personal computers. Because Token Ring, that was an IBM construct, wasn't it? IBM owned the license for Token Ring?
IBM and I believe Novell.
Yeah.
They were tied in with Novell. But I was fortunate enough, like I said, to be with Zycron that year. Was the first year of that company opening, and that was the first year he pulled his first $1 million. And he had the company got the contracts with Army and Corps engineers, with TVA, which is the Tennessee Valley Authority, and a number of the universities through the 8A program. And so now he's built that to be a multi-million. I think he may be in the billion level now because he owns in addition to Zycron, it's changed to be more like a Tech Systems or Robert Half, where they hire out talent. So he does that. He owns a bank. He owns a construction company. That guy's really doing it. And I had a great experience working there.
So ground floor of the whole personal computer industry, the growth of the computer industry. How old were you when you had your first personal computer that was not a gaming station or like a Commodore 64, like, maybe your first PC or something?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, maybe outside of those two, the gaming system and 64, I think I actually in high school had a Tandy Color Computer 3. If you remember those they were sold by Radio Shack.
Yes, absolutely. It was one of the most popular business computers for quite some time.
All right. And that was the system that we utilized to design the graphics for the labels that went on the power protectors that we sold to the school system.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually did a little programming with that as far as like some gaming back then, because I had the will, but I didn't have the skills to pull off games because I was doing so many things. I don't think if wasn't doing football or wrestling or something, I probably would have got into it a little deeper. But I got to dabble with some gaming design back then.
And so, well, wait, that was when you were in college, right? Still, or was that right after? I'm sorry, I lost track.
Oh, with the Color Computer 3 game program, that was in high school, and I was fortunate enough also with my nerd friends that read comic books with me, and we would steal the same thing. We get paid. We'd go to the comic book shop to spend our money. Some of those guys I hung out with, still friends with to this day. We actually made a video game, sort of like Wolfenstein or Duke Nukem. At the time, there was a company. We used to read PC Gamer, and in addition to the comic books, I got PC Gamer magazine, and they had an advertisement in there for make games the easy way. So I was like, okay, what is this? And investigated it. Ordered the software, and it was called Pie in the Sky software. I forget the actual name of the application, but it was made by Pie in the Sky software. And you could just, it was basically pick and place, and you would make your own video game. So, a couple friends made this whole video game. I think it was just called like Quest or something. Made this video game, and we worked on it for months, and my system crashed. So I was a little crushed at that, and so I had rebuilt the game from all the notes that we had taken on each level. And at the time, everything was on Windows 3.1. So guess what came next? Okay, we have Windows 95 that debuted. Guess what? The software does not work on Windows 95.
Right.
So, you would have had to put a boot disk in and all of this stuff to get the game to go. And I kind of lost interest because everyone was moving to Windows 95, and here's this game that only works on 3.1. And but fortunately, throughout that whole process, I was like, okay, we're going to make this game. How we're going to sell it? We're going to sell it on the internet, which was kind of a new thing at the time. But I learned how to design websites, and as the interest in the video game design waned, I started making money making websites for other people. So that's my story on that. And I really haven't. I've picked up game design again recently. So you'll probably see some of that soon. I think I put one demo on one of the forums. But yeah, I'm learning to design video games again.
And for people who want to know where Jarvis hangs out, For the like they don't know. You can find him at the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website, where he is a frequent visitor. See this how he started the site. Yeah, but he's there a lot. He's there a lot. All right, so I mean, all of these skills that you've got, they're still with you. All of the desires that you have, all of the interests that you had, as a younger person, they're all still kicking around inside. When you think about, how people who are kind of fans of science fiction, the kinds of thinking that they have, the kinds of interests that they have. I mean, you're pretty right down the line as far as some of the standard, interests, belief structures, things like that. When did you get to the point? Because if you're doing web design back then, that's fairly early on. When you look at Windows 95, let's see, that was 1995. The internet really started blowing up around 1992. The growth in the internet as a social, societal happening, and the growth in it was exactly the same growth curve from a business perspective as in 1976 with VCRs. And believe it or not, both were driven by the public's knowledge that both of those industries had available adult content. To believe that the internet would not have grown as fast as it did without porn is kind of silly. But so you're right in the. Well, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, from a business perspective, that's exactly what drove the interest in the internet. Finding out that there were news groups and things like that where there was freely available adult content, and it's no secret, that was the driving force. I guess sometimes it makes people a little queasy to realize that that's the kind of thing that kind of moves things. But despite that, some of those early online gathering places, you had I can't remember the one by Sears. You had CompuServe, you had The Source, you had Juno, you had all of these on ramps onto the internet. What kinds of places were you hanging out? Because if you're doing web design, obviously you know about the signposts and the places on the internet and what they how they work together and what people's interests are. What kinds of things drew you to the internet and what kinds of things were interesting to you at that time?
I think what drove me to the internet, I was just one of the computer nerds hanging out in the computer science department, and
sure,
I think what was it? You got on the internet through Mosaic at the time, and
yes,
some of the network guys were working. One of my mentors, he was doing this stuff with the internet and designing websites, and I was like, okay, how do you do that? So I was hanging around him and just kind of learning how to do that from him. So I think the driving thing for me with the internet was I was learning how to do design from the ground up. From the point where, okay, you could change color. Because when it first started, everything was gray and and black and white. And,
yeah, it was pretty much text driven. Yeah, it was text driven.
Right. So I kind of have grown with the internet ever since then. You can do stuff in different colors. Or you can make the letters blink. Or you can make them scroll. Oh wow, we got. You could put pictures on here now. So, and so after that, I've kind of grown with the internet, and most other people looked at it like, okay, that's this foreign thing that's hard, but they knew if they had a business, they would need a website. So I got in on the ground floor designing websites for people. So that was my focus, was primarily to make money. Also, it was chatting, and shortly after that, then the gaming aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But I would hang out. I think everybody thought AOL was the internet for the longest time, because AOL was.
It was Prodigy. It was Prodigy.
Oh man, Prodigy, Juno. Oh, I mean, all of those. It's been a long time since I even heard those words.
well, the thing was, Prodigy, took full advantage of the Mosaic engine because it was one of the first HTML color sites. It used, color graphics, color primitives, and things like that, and that's what made it so exciting for people.
Right, because looking at it was cool to do it with the black and white, but like I said, black and white and grayscale. But then when the colors came into play and the adding graphics and things, that was the hot thing back then.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
oh yeah.
And even animated GIFs. Oh wow, that's that's some high tech stuff we're dealing with.
So
yeah,
I mean, getting in on the ground floor must have been pretty cool for you. Did you develop did you have like a support community around you, people who also had like interests that you hung out with?
Oh, most definitely. Half of my time, I guess probably most of my time outside of class was held in the computer lab because I was always learning something. Trying to learn something new, and at that time, I didn't have a computer in my dorm room. We didn't have connections in the dorm room, so the only outlet for computer use was at the computer lab. So I spent most of my time at the computer lab learning new stuff, and it was a group of us that were all we would compete who could come up with the best website. Okay, who knew the best programming, and so we would hang out in the computer lab and just do nerd stuff, trying to outdo each other in programming.
Just so that you know, a friend of mine in high school named Jerry Mueller, he invented chat. There were two high schools. We had an IBM 360 downtown, and he had friends at this other high school, Lane Tech. We went to Kenwood High School, and what he did was he wrote a program for the IBM 360 downtown that reserves 72 bytes in memory. And anything that he typed on the terminal at our school would show up would go into those 72 bytes, and they'd be able to see it at Lane Tech. And then at Lane Tech, his friends there would type into the same memory address, and it would show up at our school. And had he patented that idea, can you imagine how rich he'd be today?
Mega millions. Billions. Billions, because texting on cell phones, that's basically chat right there, which also some of the technology for cell phones that we use was pioneered by Jesse Russell, a graduate of Tennessee State University, who when I was in engineering, he came back and talked to us every year about the industry and things of that nature. But he pioneered that technology for cell phones and pagers, which some people don't know what a pager is, but that technology was made by a C student at Tennessee State University.
A C student. Well, what's his name? I mean, look how many of our tech pioneers are college dropouts. I mean, seriously, you got Gates, all kinds of people dropped out of college. What's his name who invented Napster? Did he finish?
I'm not even sure.
I don't think he did.
I think is Napster still around? Last time I heard that name, they had went legitimate and were.
Well, they were trying to go legitimate, yeah.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard anything from them in a number of years.
Was his last name Fanning? That doesn't matter. I don't care about him anyway. Yeah. So and at that early age, you're doing websites. So that had to be from like 1995 to 2000 in that era, right?
Exactly. 2004, I think, from between, I think 97 to about 2000, I just ran a business doing that. That's all I did was designing websites for business, and I did some video taping of weddings and things of that nature too.
Mm-hmm.
So
pretty lucrative. You were doing okay. You were paying your bills, right?
Yeah, I was paying my bill. It was great, and then I think that internet bubble came, and that put an end to all of that because businesses were going out of companies were going out of business left and right, and people got squeamish about getting websites for a few years there.
And so, okay, you get in on the ground floor. You're doing that sort of thing, and then let's say we go into the 2000s. You know, after the new millennium, 2001. A lot of people thought it was 2000, but a lot of people don't know math. Where did your interest take you at that time? Did your business model change? Did you start doing different things?
I kind of moved my business to doing to a moonlighting state. I would continue to do sites and video and stuff like that for people, but I joined I think it was Tech Systems and Adecco and a couple of other companies, and I would just do contract work. I did that for probably about
Hello? Can everybody hear me? Well, hopefully Jarvis will do an adjustment.
Oh.
Same adjustment he. Oh, are you back?
I'm still here. I think my phone was.
I'm sorry. Did you have to run to the bathroom or?
No, my phone was in sleep mode. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Man, I don't remember at this moment.
Okay,
so
you asked me about
you were doing contract work.
Right. So I did contract work for about 4 years, which gave me even more experience. So I never knew what I was going to, what type of deal I was going to go to. So I did everything from updating software and stuff in hospitals to, right at 2000, just before 2000, I did Y2K compliance with I think what was that, HCA here in the Nashville area. I represented various companies' software at computer conferences. I would work with this company called Campaigners. Now, basically, they would hire me to sell their products and promote their products at different conventions. So I would get briefed on the software and represent that company at the convention. So that was really cool.
A lot of travel in that?
Well, I represented them here in the Nashville area because a lot of conventions were held here at the Opryland Convention Center, which is like the biggest place in the state. So a lot of those type events were held there. After doing those type of deals, I worked for. Wow, I have so much crazy experience. I worked for VoiceStream, which is now T-Mobile. I also did a stint at Dell doing tech support. I worked at a local television station for about 2 years, and shortly after that, I was hired on at Tennessee State University, where I was a a multimedia. Well, I started off as media specialist, then I kind of graduated to multimedia specialist, where I did work with video, web design as usual, and then I added graphic design to that. So I worked there for 4 years, and immediately after that, I worked at Trevecca doing multimedia work there as well.
And all the time you were having, it sounds like you were having fun.
Oh, yeah. I think I may have a short attention span, but being able to do something different and learn, always learning something new that's just how I operate. I enjoy learning new things. So multimedia does that. It's always changing, so it keeps my attention.
Well, the big thing now is, animated GIFs and adding music. I'm just telling you, man. And of course, again, that's that online content driving that forward too. Online adult content.
Animated GIFs today.
Did you?
Yeah, it's quite a clip though. They had these little blue balls running on.
That thing, yeah. Yeah, I admit that was actually. You know what? I'm gonna do that for everybody here. I'm gonna send that to everybody here. Okay, so I mean that it sounds pretty cool. And at the same time, during all of that time, did you, by chance, were you kind of keeping up with the sci-fi stuff?
Oh,
while you're still doing the computer stuff.
Oh, that's my main sci-fi stuff. It's always been my main source of entertainment. I watch regular TV shows, but I primarily watch sci-fi shows, and that's been a constant. So much so, I used to have movie nights every month with my friends, and we would just get together and watch sci-fi films. It's probably every other month, every 3 months now, because everybody has has their own families and kids and stuff, so we're not able to meet like we used to. But we still do movie nights, still discuss what new thing is going on in the world of comics and video and games and in movies. That's never stopped. Since I was a little kid, that's just part of my makeup now.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
You're listening to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. And our special guest tonight is the site's creator, Jarvis Sheffield, coming to us from Tennessee. I guess let's switch gears here, because you mentioned earlier in the week to me that tomorrow is the 6th anniversary of the creation of BlackScienceFictionSociety.com. Is that correct? Yes, it is, and I'm really excited about that. I've seen a lot of sites come and go, and to be still around and growing and thriving after 6 years, I think that's really something to be proud of. And I want to reiterate that it's not about me. It's the site itself. It's a community-based site. It's not like a regular site where people go there and read what's on there and leave. This site is a community where people get together and share ideas and just work together on projects and get those done. Yeah. But you're getting ahead of us here, okay? You're getting way ahead. Let's go back 6 years, because that's the important thing, man. What is it? What happened 6 years ago where you said, you know what? I think I'm going to take this and this idea and put it together and lay it out there. What was the genesis, if you'll allow me to use that word? What was the genesis of this site? Because that's the reason why we're all here. That's the reason why every single person listens to this show. That's why people stop in You know, that's why
Oh,
why
man.
it's as popular as it is. Excuse me.
Well, you have to blame that on Mini-Me, my son. We spend a lot of time together watching different films and getting on the floor and drawing and putting robot kits together and stuff like that. And we happened to be watching, I can't remember the movie that we were watching at the time, and he just turned to me and was like, I think he was 6, 7. And he turned to me and was like, why are the bad guys black people? And so, you know, it kind of struck me that he noticed that at such an early age, much sooner than I did. And
Sure.
so we had a big conversation about that. And so it got me to thinking, like, man, he really hit a point there. And I know I would visit, and somebody I have to give props to is Edward Uzel. He has a site called netters.tv and Datharec. He actually, I went to his site to see what was going on in the world of comics and black science fiction and animation. He actually was doing animation and comics and things of that nature 10 years prior. So he's who I give homage to. But I remember from his site and other sites like Urban Entertainment, which I actually really enjoyed, but they went out of business. There was the same people that came out with Undercover Brother, the cartoon, years before they made the movie. They had other cartoons and short films and things like that. So it gave me the idea to do something about it. I know I couldn't do any animation back then. I really couldn't write back then. And so animation on that level, on a larger scale. So I was like, what I do know how to do, I can design websites. And so I decided to, based off of that, and then also around that time, President Obama was ascending to his status. And I'm like, wow, this brother is really doing it. If he can really, I really hadn't considered us having a black president in my lifetime. I hoped for it, but I did not think it would happen. And by seeing him reach the level that he reached, even if he hadn't won, by him even making it to that stage, I'm like, man, I need to step up my game, and so I can do more. So I decided to pull together a site that had everything that I could find about science fiction, all the books I could think of, all the comics that I ever laid my hands on that had a black character in it, animation, everything, and that's how Black Science Fiction Society got started. I put the site together, and I've been a member of a few Yahoo groups. Yahoo groups were big at that time. And I put an announcement out that I was starting a
Someone's going to have to hit the snooze button on his phone.
Pardon me?
No, it sounded like someone was going to have to hit the snooze button on your phone.
But I decided to invite the people that were on the Yahoo groups to this site, and the site started with 20 people, and it's just grown since then.
And we're up to what, about 3,000, how many now? 3,500?
We're about 3,900. We're almost
3,900.
4,000. Yeah, we're about close to the 4,000 mark. I think we're about 102 people shy.
And
But
so
yeah, it's been a fun ride ever since then.
Yeah, and how, you know, you mentioned, okay, I started out with 20 people. When did it start picking up? I mean, like, how soon before you had your 1,000th person register?
I think it took probably about a year, because at that time I didn't really know much about marketing, and so it just kind of grew organically. You know, but this person telling, you know, word of mouth, people just spreading the word of mouth. And I think shortly, maybe in that second year, we really started trying to promote it more. and so now we've had opportunities to have accolades internationally in a magazine called Atlas magazine, which is Norwegian. We've been in Amazing Stories magazine, which is the oldest sci-fi magazine, period. We've had 2 stories in there, and in various other online radio shows and blogs. So I really enjoyed what we've been able to pull off with the site, and all of those interests that I had since childhood. We've been able to kind of make those come to life. You know, we didn't have a black site with science fiction, so we got together and we did that. We got the site going. Shortly after that, the first Genesis book to get the word out about black writers and help spread that, and also magazine and radio show that we're on now. I'm just really enjoying the entire ride, and I have a lot more plans in store.
Yeah, I heard about the radio show. What what made you start? What made you start? I mean, where did you go? I mean, basically, it's an online environment. Okay, so it's web based, on the internet. What made you decide to add a radio show?
Well, I wanted to establish get a foot in all realms of media. To spread the word about black creators that are out there. Because a lot of times people, they don't know what they don't know. And so by creating a radio show, you can reach people internationally, without having to fork over an arm and a leg to do it.
No, you just make somebody stay home on Friday nights every damn Friday. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. I apologize.
Right, but we don't get the accurate. But since creating the site, I've learned more in these 6 years about black science fiction than I knew my entire life, and so I'm really I'm really excited about new comics and new books and new animations and new toys, and I kind of want everybody else to know about it. Hence all the emails that everyone gets, but but one of the main things is spreading the word about the creations that are already out here, because a lot of people are, I didn't know we had a black this and didn't know we had a black that. Well, okay, that's what I'm here to do, so I can spread the word about these black products that are already out here, in addition to creating new things,
Yeah, but I mean, six years is an incredibly short amount of time. Some people say it's a long time in terms of, on the internet, that's several generations worth of time in terms of innovation, in terms of new things coming out, in terms of sheer turnover. and also, I mean, look how many other black-themed sci-fi sites that have come and gone, and BSFS still endures. I mean, that's a testament to the kind of universal appeal that it sounds like you were going for.
Yeah, and I hate to see them go, but I've seen about at least 20 myself that have came and gone, and I'm real happy that I'm not one of them. And that's a testament to not just me, of course, but definitely the people. And I keep putting that on the members, because the members are what make the site. It's the whole theme of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa and the Nguzo Saba center around community, and that's the focus. With one of the principles the site is built on. It's all about community.
And what kind of, I mean, obviously people respond to you in different ways. You also have a Facebook presence as well. What kind of feedback do you get not necessarily from the people who are members of the SFS, but do you get feedback from people outside of the community, and what kind of feedback do you get?
Everything, for the most part, that I can recall has been pretty positive. I really haven't had too much problem with trolling and things of that nature. Thank goodness. I have it every now and then, but the overriding thing has been positive. People are encouraging. People are curious. They want to know. People that are Spanish or somebody from the Middle East or European countries, they might just send me an email, not an email, but a message on one of the other social media platforms, whether it's like Pinterest or Twitter and stuff, and they're curious about it. And so they ask me these questions, and I think that's how I've got some of those other interviews. People have been very positive and receptive for Black science fiction, at least in my experience.
Well, and which kind of begs the question. I mean, we've got, and I've said this in a few other interviews, when I was talking to Yatasha Womack and, excuse me, some of the others, it appears that Black science fiction, through the milieu, the whatever you want to characterize Afrofuturism as, a movement or the discovery of a genre that people hadn't known was out there. It looks like things are starting to take off in terms of people knowing that this kind of content is available, and also the sociological implications that Black science fiction, Black fantasy, Black horror has on the larger genre. It sounds like things are starting to pick up. I mean, when you talk about amazing tales. Is it amazing tales or amazing stories? Stories.
Amazing.
My dad used to read that. I mean, I seriously, I read Amazing Tales and then Analog, which came later. I was reading Amazing Tales probably 50 years ago, probably even maybe a hair over 50 years ago, which, I mean, is remarkable. No, I'm serious. It's remarkable because when you listen to me on the radio, you have no idea that that's how old I am. But, I mean, it's been around that long. I mean, seriously. And to get that kind of attention from an institution that's that old, I mean, that's pretty cool, Jarvis. I mean, it really is.
Well, I've been really blessed in that respect that, people have got on board with the entire concept of Black science fiction.
Well, it's not blessed. It's not blessed. It's hard work. Okay? You weren't sitting back thinking, geez, let's see if a higher power can move this forward. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I watch what you do in a week, how much time and effort you put in to do this. This is not, it may be a labor of love, but it is a labor. It's practically a full-time job. I mean, I'll be the first person to admit I don't book the guests for the show. That's a tough job, getting somebody every week to want to, be on this show. And it can be an inconvenient time. A lot of people say, hey, man, I'm not giving up my Friday night. But you manage to get people for the show. You have people logging on. I mean, I have met so many Black creatives that I never, ever, ever would have met at all without this show. And that's a testament to you and to your hard work. So, I mean, you can say with somebody almighty's help, all things are possible. But you know what?
Yeah.
You give a healthy kick in the pants, okay? because it is hard
I'm
work.
just happy,
it is hard work.
Happy to be the instrument, because the hard work is there, but that's where I draw my energy from when I get kind of fed up or tired or whatever. That's what my force is. So I want to always make sure to have that in there. That I'm just happy to be an instrument to try to do things positive in our community.
Yeah, and not only are you just trying to do things positive in our community, you're actually branching out. Let's take this opportunity to talk a little bit about you're at the helm. You are the executive. Well, you're the producer. Well, we can argue about executive or not. Let's just call it you're the producer of BSFS's first feature film. And tell us a little bit about how all of that came about from the first day you thought about, because you were the person who originally thought about putting this script together, right?
Right. How it originally started was on one of those job sites. When I mentioned I worked for VoiceStream, that was early 2000, right around 2000, 2001. I was hired in with a big class of people to do tech support. And we were in one of the classes, and the class was, I had learned all the stuff that they asked, and they were like reiterating things. And I was bored, so I was kind of sitting near the back, and I started writing the ideas down. I actually wrote the ideas for 2 stories, and but the one that kind of came to the surface was the Earth Squadron story, and I kind of sat on it for a few years and just had it laying around. But once the site was up, I was like, okay, maybe I can get together with some other people on here and make this happen. It's taken a couple of years to get all the players in place, but I finally got to a point where I was where I had enough space to think about it and plan it. So, and then of course, the story was originally published in Genesis Book 1 under the same title, Earth Squadron, and so maybe 2 years after that, then I got with this great writer that I know, William HAYASHI, and and I want to make sure that everyone knows that you were instrumental in taking that short story and really breathing life into it and fleshing it all the way out to a full-length feature-length script. And so from that point, that was the whole idea was to go to bring this to life, and I continue to talk to other people. But after I had a chance to read that script from page 1 to page 83, I was like, okay, no matter what, this movie is about to get made. By hook or crook, this is going to get made. And so, I know what I'm sorry, let me backtrack just a little bit. Before the impetus for developing that to a full-length film, I held a video script contest on the site, and the idea was to find the best script and to pull all the resources together and get that script made into a feature-length film. And we didn't get the feedback that I hoped. And so, I was like, I have this information out here. I said I'm going to make a film, and so I didn't have any scripts that lent itself to making a full-length film. So I was like, that's when I contacted you, William. And I was like, okay, I have this story. I have ownership of this story. I can do what I want to with this story. So that's when I came to you, and you fleshed it out. And then when I read the final draft, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So continue to pull the resources together and make steps to get it made into a film. And now, to give it a really a shot in the arm for development, we ran the crowdfunding campaign, and that just ended about 2 days ago, and we successfully raised over $3,000 toward the film, and that's where we are now.
Well, I mean, you're further along than that. I mean, I heard you mention the fact that there's storyboarding. You have characters that have already been created digitally. I mean, the project is moving along pretty well, despite that script. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I want to thank all the people. And you can see all of the people that are involved with the project on the EarthSquadron.com website. And
right.
One of them is another one is right here in the chat room. Alonzo, AVT Pro, in the chat room. He's really kind of bent over backwards to help get these characters made for the film. Some of the primary characters, the main soldier, the main concept for the aliens. We also have 2 motherships that have been created. You've probably seen those in some of the advertisements I've been sending out. And there are another about 17 characters that I'll be dropping over the course of the development of the film. I'll continue to send those out to kind of let people see who some of the other characters are. Like, a lot of people don't know and I made I kind of flip-flopped on it, but I ended up going back to the original concept where the president in the films is a female, a black female. So we're trying to do some interesting things in the project.
And what you should do is also let people know that the reason why this is happening is not just to do a feature film, but the reason is to put together the resources so that more feature films can be made, so that people have the resources, because it's not easy making a film, whether it's digital or whether it's like real people. No, what do they call that? Live action. So
exactly.
No, I'm serious. So one of the things that you've always said all along to me, when we've discussed this, is that this is the entree into having BSFS be not only a producer of original content, but also a source for a resource for other people who also want to put together original content.
Exactly.
True? Yeah.
Exactly. I think I kind of took a page from, I forget the guy who owns it, who owned it at the time, but it was Urban Entertainment. I kind of took a page from them where I read an interview and and they were talking about his success and all this stuff. And one of the key points I gleaned from that interview was when you don't have avenues to a pipeline to get your stuff seen, you have to make your own. And so Black Science Fiction Society is that pipeline for the black magazines, black books, black comics, and now I want it to be that for black film. And so, as you stated, this isn't a one-shot thing that we're raising money for with film, because we're getting the equipment and software and things of that nature so that we can continue to make more films. And, BFFS produce things and other people's projects as well. I just want to eliminate the excuses where we don't have this, we don't have that. Okay, we have it. Now, are you going to put up or shut up? Are you going to support it? Or are you going to sit on the sidelines and,
and whine
and talk and whine and talk? And so, right. So my thing has primarily been to always hold to we can do for ourselves. Because I've seen a multi-million-dollar company from a one-room 20 by 20 space with two people, and now it's a multi-million-dollar company. And so I've kind of internalized that, and you have to start somewhere, and that's what we're doing. We're building the pipeline to create more Black science fiction and distribute it.
Mm-hmm. So let's, realistically, about when do you think that maybe a rough cut of the film may be completed? Just a ballpark time, because nobody's going to hold your feet to the fire.
Well, the movie is scheduled to be completed by next summer, so we'll probably have something fleshed out by next spring. But I'm looking to have a movie trailer within 2 months. So we got the funding to do and all the elements to do at least that much to come out with a decent movie trailer.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we'll have something completely completed. The rough cut should be done by the spring. But we want to take all the time that we need to get this to the point where it's the best that it can be.
Right.
I don't want to just rush and throw something out there and people are, just like, oh, you did a film. That's nice.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't want people going, oh, how come you had a Japanese guy do the writing? See, I don't want to hear none of that, okay? I'm telling you right now, okay? All right, so, and for people who want to take a look at where everything is and get a better idea of it, it's www.earthsquadron.com. And you'll see some of the artwork. You'll get to look at some of the team who put it together and things like that. And it's also a good way to keep track of exactly where the project is because since it is a project that is kind of being born of BSFS, you definitely want membership to know where the project is and to be excited about it, because you know what, when this comes out, it's going to benefit us all, I believe.
Well, I sincerely hope so. So that's why we're, like I said, I didn't want to rush it. I want to rush it and come out with just something this year, to take our time and come out with something really good so people can like, okay, wow, that was great. Who did that? Who's responsible for that? How can I get in on this? And I just want to continue to spread our wings as far as Black science fiction reaching the level that it should.
And so tomorrow is, on top of all of that, tomorrow is the 6th anniversary of the beginning of BlackScienceFictionSociety.com, the website that we all kind of congregate on. Do you have anything special going on tomorrow, so that people can drop by, say hi, do things like that? I did, for everybody who is like me, Jarvis did say earlier, or maybe it was yesterday, that there would be virtual cake. So for those of you who want cake, he did mention that there will be virtual cake all day tomorrow. Drop in and get
free.
some of your digital cake. Yeah, free digital cake.
Free.
Oh, so you pander to the brothers and sisters now, huh? Okay, all right.
But yeah,
man, free cake.
Hey, you can't beat it.
No, you can't. So tell us a little bit about, what the 6th anniversary means to you, man. Think about that. 6 years.
Oh man, to me, it's just a testament to Black people working together. People say that Black people, they can't work together. We can work together. You just have to find people of like mind and get with those people that think like you do and build from there. You know, you can't save everybody. You know, you can't work with everybody, but you can find people that have common ground with you and move forward. And so tomorrow, we've done this for, I think, just about every year since the inception, just had an online party on the site to commemorate those years. And so this year, much like last year, we're going to continue to have quizzes and contests and giveaways and things of that nature. I think this year we're giving away about 10 books, various books. I know 20 comics. It's in those 20 comics, I think there's the first issue of Purge, the first issue of what is that other one? I can't think of it. But there's some first issues of a lot of different black comics in there. And we're giving away 4 posters as well. We're going to do around 2 o'clock Central Time. We're going to have just a kickoff, and everyone meets in the chat room and kind of mix and mingle and talk. And hopefully some of the older people that have been around since the beginning will show up and mingle with the newer people. And that's what happens every year, and kind of get rekindled and meet new people and network. And at 3 o'clock, we're having a free seminar called Black to the Future, Returning to the Past, so to Save the Future. And that's by Keith Young. He's been doing online seminars for a number of years, and they're really, really good. So and you're getting stuff that people actually have to pay money for free, serious money for free tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And probably around 5, we're going to have a contest that centers around comics. At 6 o'clock, contest regarding TV and movies. And 7 o'clock, toys and games. And then we're going to do that till about 8 o'clock, and then we're going to start shutting it down at 8 o'clock, and that'll conclude the birthday celebration for Black Science Fiction Society.
Man, it sounds like a party.
With free cake.
Well, no, I'm serious.
Digital
I mean,
cake.
and yeah, free virtual cake. So let's talk about, I mean, other than the movie, what are we thinking about? What are you thinking about for the upcoming year? What might be new? What might be different? What enhancements or what new things should people be looking out for in the new year?
For this year, I think the free seminar that we're doing tomorrow at 3, that's going to probably start our new monthly master series of science fiction, of Black science fiction. So each month you can look forward to a free seminar to increase your knowledge of Black science fiction, to increase your knowledge of whatever genre, whether it's plan on having people helping others learn how to write, how to publish, how to get into comics, how to do animation, things of that nature. So that's one of the new things that you'll see each month here on the site. And within a few months, you'll probably see the first video game. We have probably about 4 or 5 prototypes of games in the works right now, but it'll be a few months before you see a full game. But I'll keep plugging information about the game development on the site. So just keep your eyes and ears open for that in the game section. Because I think I've taken a casual study of young people, and that what we want to do, we want to continue to grow science fiction, but we're going to have to do that by introducing young people to it. and I think one of the, in addition to comics and toys, one of the entry points for that is games, because you have to pull these kids off of these games, or they'll just be glued to them until they get old and gray. But based off of my son's response, he is really, and his friends, they're really into this gaming, and so we need to reach them at their entry point and have some games that look and reflect their background. So that's one of the things, another thing this year that you'll see. But we have like a multi-year program. The project since the beginning has been a 10-year plan to introduce a new seed or a new facet each year. And so we continue to plant these seeds and let them grow so that we can have all areas of science fiction covered, and we can have representation in those areas.
Kind of as an adjunct, but it's separate. One of the things that I just did an executive summary for was we're building a a computer and 3D printer assembly site, hopefully here in Chicago on the south side this year.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
But one of the cool parts about the whole project is that I plan on putting together a curriculum for teaching Chicago Southside teens how to code for mobile devices. And of course, we're talking about games and teaching them how to write that code and teaching them how to program, because that's essentially what it is a skill building exercise that we're very serious about, so that these kids can compete, head to head with any other students, graduating high school. We want them to be able to do that. And obviously this site, BSFS, is a great resource for expanding that creativity. Because when you talk about creating games, when you talk about, trying to teach skills like that, there's such a wealth of stimulation and a wealth of material here at BSFS that they can draw from. Looking at the various genres, looking at how people treat science fiction, looking at the storylines, things like that. So, that's something that I'm very interested in, and this is such a vital resource to making that happen. And, the fact that it's been here for 6 years and it's probably going to be here for an awfully long time is it's comforting. It's comforting because this is a great resource, and it's not a fly-by-night resource. And the other thing is that a lot of people overlook is the value of BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website is a free resource. It costs nothing to join. And that's something that people overlook. And the importance of that is that it makes the site and the resources and the people here accessible to anybody, regardless of their financial circumstance. All they have to be able to do is get onto, an internet on-ramp someplace to make it to this site. So again, kudos to you for not charging for. Well, no, I'm serious. Look at the business models. As soon as somebody gets popular, what's the first thing they do? They either drop advertising in your face or they start charging for it. Right. Or if they're lucky and somebody comes along, yes, they will sell it. And,
something that I want to also interject there, it comes back to people that believe in our goals here on the site. There are some people that they never say a word in the chat room or on the in the forum. But they'll just, but they come through when I say, okay, we need donations for XYZ. They really come through, and I really appreciate that. And it's a section on the site that I need to update for the latest ones that have been contributing. But we have donors that'll just send money. I don't even have to ask. They'll send the 20. Or on occasion of 50 or more to keep the site going. And so that we come back again to that community. I couldn't do this by myself. I really couldn't. So if you get an opportunity, check out under the About section. I put most of the names there, but it's probably about twice that many now after this campaign has ended. Under About, it's called the Wall of Fame. Each of those individuals have donated financially to the site to keep it going. So in addition to donations, the sales of the magazine and the sales of books and posters, that's how we pay for the site and keep it going. And it's all powered by the members of the site. So I have to give ultimate thanks to everyone that has bought in to this idea of creating black science fiction. And I want to give a thanks out to the members.
Well, obviously the members not only respond to that, but they must be grateful to you for having provided a resource like this, because, and a community. It's more than a resource. It is a community. And like you said, whether they speak or not, whether they chat or not, whether they blog or not, people do appreciate the fact that this is here. It has stayed here. It's the other thing is that it is family friendly. You've done a very good job of making sure that it didn't turn into some sort of science fiction cesspool. Well, you can laugh, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But I mean, there's so much here to offer, and there are so many people it offers itself up to, not only as a resource, but as an adjunct to imagination. You know, kids can come here, they can read stories, they can meet the authors. I mean, how cool is that? You can actually, you know, chat with or drop a note to an author. I've met a lot of people here, and then the other thing that this BlackScienceFictionSociety.com has done is it has spawned local chapters in different cities. There are a few of us here in Chicago who, you know, we haven't gotten together as a group yet, but we're even thinking about having a BSFS little mini convention here. I know that. I'm sorry.
That's awesome, because that's those two things that you mentioned. Those are two items that are in that 10-year plan for creating chapters of the organization and having an event. The thing with Black Science Fiction Society is I want this thing to grow and continue well past my time here on Earth. You know, because I don't want, a lot of times with comics I've seen or in various companies, if something happens to the founder or whatever, it's gone forever. And, you know, and that resource is lost. So I want to make sure to leave a legacy that continues to grow from here on out.
Well, am I in the will?
Wheels in the wheel.
I'm just checking because, you know, I don't plan on going. I really don't, because you know, I admit that the guy that I want to throw a beating is the guy who invented the phrase "growing old gracefully," because there's really no grace in it. But you're gonna be around for a good long time. So I mean, that's pretty cool. Plus, you know, all of us here, you know, who contribute not because we're making, you know, big cash, mad stacks of cash off of this site, but because, I mean, for me, what's cool is meeting like-minded people who are also content creators. I mean, when I wrote my first book, I didn't know anybody who wrote any science fiction or any speculative fiction that was of a black theme. And it was only because someone in a writing group here in Chicago, they found this site and they sent me the link, and I signed up about 2 minutes later because I didn't know that a place like this existed. And
that has been the most common thing that I've heard since the inception of the site. I didn't know there were other people like me out there that was interested in black science fiction, or science fiction in general, for that matter. But that's one of the most common things that I've heard, and I really enjoy the fact that we're able to come together in one place and discuss and share knowledge about what's going on in the science fiction realm together, and develop new science fiction, whether it's comics or books or movies.
Look how many people you've got, man. You got almost 4,000 people. Man, that's a, you know, people say, oh, well, Facebook has 83 million. Yeah, but Facebook is a whole bunch of people. Well, never mind. I don't even want to talk about it. But to have a genre-specific site like this and to attract as many people as you have, you know, that can't be understated. I mean, this is just wonderful work that you've done, Jarvis. Let me ask this question. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Where do you see this place 10 years? Where do you see this place 10 years from now?
Oh, 10 years from now, having many more members than we have now, and producing our own brand of comics and more books and things of that nature. Also putting out, like I said before, this whole deal with creating movies. We'll be creating our own movies and 3D animation, toys, and having our own event each year. So
and where would you hold that? Where would you hold? Yeah, where would you hold that event? Do I have to travel?
You know what? We'll have a virtual event. No, that I haven't ironed out yet. But one idea was to go to having in multiple locations, where we kind of partnered with the existing convention and had like maybe an awards at that convention. But those ideas haven't been fleshed all the way out yet. But we definitely want to have our own event and awards. That's probably, the awards will probably come before the event. But not only because there isn't, that I know of, just a general like science fiction awards. You have comics. You have black comics. I haven't seen really a black awards. So we want to venture into that area probably within the next year.
You mean like this year or like 2015? Because I actually have an idea for that.
15.
I have an idea for that. All right, I'll share it with you later because I don't want anybody to steal it. No, I'm serious because.
Go ahead. We'll definitely have to brainstorm on that because I have several pages of the logistics on how to pull that off. I've even been looking at what the award should look like. I've been doing pricing on it, so we'll definitely have to talk.
Yeah, I know how we can get it on TV. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Anywho, yeah, we'll talk about that later. So how can other people help? I mean, obviously, at the end of every show, we say, well, thank you for listening. All right, tell your friends. Get them to listen to the podcast. Do this, do that. What's the best way that membership can help you promote the site and promote the culture of the site?
I guess two things. First, to share the site with everybody that you know. You can plug we have a widget that you can plug on your Facebook. You can plug that on your Facebook, your blog, if you have that. Of course, donations are always welcome because those donations go to the promotion of the site, in addition to the operation of the site, because we do, behind the scenes, we do promotions through various online e-blast companies. And so that helps spread the word. But most definitely share the site with everyone you know. Come on the site and talk to other people, meet new people, come in the chat room and share what you're doing. Post things on the site. Right now, we have a lot of activity in the chat room and not as much activity in the forums. And it's odd because a few years ago, we didn't even have a chat room. Everything was via forum. And we kind of experimented with a couple of different chat services with the idea of having a chat. And thanks to Thaddeus House, we have a chat room because he was like, it's really important for you to have a chat room for the people that don't like to do forums, they like to talk in chat. So I put that on here, and it's been a success. Also, he was the one that brought the idea of TalkShoe up. So the members on the site, I really listen to your suggestions and see how we can work them in. And a lot of those suggestions have been really valuable. So continue to tell everybody about the site that you know and come on the site and tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, and you're around just about all the time now, aren't you?
Oh man, when I'm not around, I'm around. I have the Black Science Fiction Society app. It's an Android app. You can download it from App Geyser. There's actually a link on the front page on the lower right. And so when I'm not here, when I'm out and about, I have the app going probably about 90% of the time so I can peek in and see what's going on. And sometimes you'll see I may have short answers, and it's not because I'm trying to be funny or anything like that. It's because I'm out and about and I'm trying to type with these big fingers on this little pad.
Especially when you're in traffic.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too. I need to stop. I think I did the show when we were in where was it? I did the show. I was partially in the car driving, doing Motor City Black Age of Comic. And you were like, are you driving? I'm like, yeah, I'm driving.
Yeah, I did last winter because normally I play tennis on Friday nights, or I did up until this last summer. I would actually get on the show and be in my car driving home doing the show. But it's that important. I mean, it's important to me that all of these things happen because they're all part of it. I mean, stop and think about it. I mean, how many people, I got to interview Tanana Reeve and Stephen Barnes at the same time.
That's awesome. They're like top tier male and female of the whole genre.
Right, and the fact that you are generating that kind of interest, and we're finding those kind of people who will take time out of their day, out of their lives, to come and share what they're doing and who they are and what their art is. That's pretty cool. I mean, it obviously it's growing. I mean, I'm very impressed over the mention in Amazing Stories, because that's huge, because that's something out of my past. I mean, out of my distant past. I mean, when I talk about, oh yeah, I've been reading that magazine, or I read that 50 years ago. People go, 50 years ago? I'm not even 50 years old. And I go, well, I just say, well, the heck with you, because I mean, science fiction has been around for a long time. And the fact of the matter is, nowadays, we are now getting science fiction that is including people who look like us, written for us, written by us. And that's a huge thing. I mean, at least the black half of me as us. But that's a huge thing. I mean, it really is. And the mention about Afrofuturism, this is something that I think is only going to gain steam. It's just going to expand because more and more people are publishing. The threshold to publishing is much lower. You know, people can self-publish. People can. We've had people on this show who collaborate across international borders to get comics done. There are so many things going on that facilitate the sharing and the creation of content for our kids. Because you know what? When our kids see people who look like them doing things that they normally would not see, it opens their minds to so many things. I mean, stop and think about how many black children now are looking at or have only known a black president of the United States of America.
Right.
I mean, how cool is that? So, I mean,
and I want to reiterate with my son. He was the primary driver for me starting the site, and it's interesting that you said that about having characters that look like you, because I was at a point that I was kind of concerned because he didn't like reading, and so I was fortunate enough to go to OnyxCon in Atlanta, which is a black convention, and I purchased about 10 or 15 comics, and I brought them back home. Ever since then, I have not had any problems with him reading. And so the next year, he was so excited about it, he wanted to go with me. So we both, he actually manned the booth when I needed to go get something to eat or step away for a moment. And now, and that's how important it is for us to have images that these kids can associate with, because he wasn't, like I said, he really wasn't, he'd seen comic books. I had comic books. He wasn't interested in them because the ones that he saw, he'd seen before didn't reflect him. But the moment he got those comics and the characters looked like him, I did not have any problems with his reading.
Mm-hmm. It is and amazing. Go ahead.
And one other thing that I just want to interject, I'm not sure who said it, but they made the statement that today's science fiction is tomorrow's science fact, and we've seen that with stuff like the cell phone and tablets and this new Google Glass. All of that kind of showed up on Star Trek before it was actually made. So with that said, we need to be involved in science fiction so that we can reap the benefits when these things become science fact. We can be part of that science fact.
Well, and more and more people of color are now being acknowledged for their contributions to technology. You know, that didn't happen as much before. I think back to the funny skit that Eddie Murphy did on Saturday Night Live, talking about he would do the Our Day in Black History kind of sit down, and he was talking about how George Washington Carver was the person who led the charge on exploiting the peanut, and yet Skippy and Jif are owned by white guys, and I mean just funny things like that. But there's a biting social commentary to that sort of thing, because we do contribute. I mean, the first open heart surgery was done by a black man. How many people know that? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way down the line. So, in terms of what you just said, today's discoveries or today's science fiction is tomorrow's science fact, and we are contributing, and that's pretty important. We're actually out of time, believe it or not. We've done our time here. I'm not going to, hand it off to you to say what you need to say, but why don't you go ahead and tell everybody? I mean, and I want to thank you for doing this, because we talked about it, and the very first time I mentioned it to you, you said some bad words about me inside your head that you thought I couldn't hear. but I'm glad you finally sat down and let the people who know you peripherally or know you in chat find out a little bit about you and how you got to where you are today. So thank you very much for taking time out to do this. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the kind mentions that you made of the other members, including myself. I thank you for that as well. So go ahead and you can take us home.
Well, you're very welcome. And like I said, I continue to reiterate, thank you all, the membership, for supporting what I'm trying to do here. I really think it's important, and I'm glad that you see the same thing that I see, that this is important. And continue to spread the word about the site, continue to get active on the site, because we have a lot of things in play and a lot of things planned, and we can do it. We proved 6 years that we could do it. We have a site, we have a magazine, we have a book series, radio show. Now we're in the process of venturing into movies, and that's all due to black people of like mind working together. I want to thank you for that. You all have a good night, and I'll probably be over in the chat room in about 10 minutes, as always. And tomorrow, join us tomorrow around 2 o'clock Central Time for our online birthday bash, celebrating 6 years of Black Science Fiction. And free digital cake. It's digital cake. Because
yes,
we
free
can
digital
mail
cake.
it. Because mailing real cake would be a problem.
Yeah, especially to send it all the way to Africa, because when you have devoted listeners who tune in every Friday night from another continent, that's pretty cool. I mean, again, that's a testament to the site, man. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We will see you all next week, and continue to support the site, continue to drop in, continue to do all the things you do to help make this place the place it is. On behalf of Mr. Sheffield and everybody else, have a pleasant weekend, and we'll catch you next Friday.
All right. Good night. Bye-bye.